funny. There we go. And we are live on a Wednesday night. Aus Prop Investors, the place you want to be. It is with the Chris and the Joe and the Jeff. How you going? Oh, I didn't do the saying. It's we bring the big names and we have the big fun. How are you today, Chris?
Good, mate. Good. How are you guys doing?
Bloody fantastic. I'm ready for this. I am ready for this. I can see out of the corner of your screen there is a small Dr. Pepper can, and I don't know the story, and I'm excited to hear it. So,
absolutely.
How are you, Big Jeff?
Iron J is fantastic. I had 2 coffees today, and I had a good story about my coffee. So the second coffee, I forgot my wallet at home, so tried to sort out, have my MX connected to my phone, and of course I don't use MX. So she's just like, come back tomorrow, and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to come back tomorrow. So I'm going back Friday. I think it was a tactic. She's like, come back tomorrow. So I'm going to buy another coffee from this place now because she's just been so generous. It's that law of reciprocity, right? So that's my day. So I've got a free coffee that I'm going to pay for later. Life hack, by the way. But no, day's going really well. Had my end of year performance review. Probably shouldn't be talking about it on there, but I went pretty well. I'm not unemployed, so happy days. Not yet, but going really well actually, Joe. And I'm excited to. There's been so much energy, so much excitement. So let's get straight into the life hacks. Why not? Since you're the guest, Chris, and you've told us. Actually, before we do that, I want to see the comments, the questions. Like, what do you want to know, folks? Like, throw them, and we'll get to them.
This is going to be a super exciting episode. This, Chris has been purchasing property in the last 15 months. He has 5 properties, and 4 of those were purchased in the past 15 months. And I think you're going to realize here that the story is pretty sensational, but there are no special, tricks or tactics. He's not on a massive, crazy salary. He works a normal job, has a normal dude, and he was able to purchase 4 properties rapidly.
He does drink Dr. Pepper though, so maybe we need to do a survey of our members to see if Dr. Pepper is a secret ingredient. Perhaps we could, Anyway, so no, I agree with Joe. It's great to get the everyday person in. And I'm not saying you are. Look, Chris, I reckon you understate your story. So if anybody wants to get on and have a chat, let us know. But okay, life hack, Chris. I'm excited to hear this one. It's a hot one.
Yeah, absolutely. So this one I have my my wife to thank for me. Actually, this is I'm going to introduce to you some spices that will change your life. So paprika is the first one. Okay. Yeah. And then you put garlic with that as well, garlic powder. Yep. You get all these from Woolies. And the last one is onion powder. So this triad, this combination here, onion powder, paprika, and garlic powder will change your life. Put it on chicken, vegetables, potatoes, whatever you want. And this one as well, it's really nice. It's not super strong, so you can load it up as well.
Is it
maybe
is
a little
there a
bit
ratio?
light.
Is it 1-1-1?
I don't know. One sprinkle, another sprinkle for this one. That's my metric. That's the metric I'm using. This one, I don't know, half a tub maybe. No, don't put half a tub on. Just sort of a good one. You could hold it like that. Just sort of tap it with your finger. It'll come out. I've made the mistake of dumping half of one of these in before. So
not a full thing. Okay. Well, that's a bloody great life hack. I feel like your breath is, probably not going to be the greatest after it, but it's going to be well worth it at the all
the way from Wollongong here. So you couple thousand k's south, and I can still smell you. So happy days.
I'm all for it. Jeff, what is your life hack, mate?
Mate, my life hack is taken from it's actually crowdsourcing. So this is a really funny one. What the heck do I remember that? So crowdsourcing. So this came up from my post that I do occasionally on Tuesday nights. It's I get the best and the brightest minds, and I think about I bring them all together, and I'm like, because if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. So I kind of crowdsource that and sort of say, and the challenge of that is so that's my life hack is understand what mistakes other people have made and do your best to not make that mistake again. You may make it anyway. So I heard Chris said he popped half a tub of paprika in. So I'm going to be mindful next time when I'm salting paprikaing my potatoes. I'm going to be careful not to do a whole bunch of paprika. So that's my life hack. I've crowdsourced my spice ideas from Chris. Here we go.
Well, that's what this community is all about. Like,
exactly.
just people helping other people. There's a whole heap of smart cookies that have
By
done
the way,
a whole heap of mistakes.
We're on the lookout for a book club person. Well, somebody wants to run a book club, because I don't know if Joe. I nominated Joe, but I sort of put it out there this afternoon, and because I think Joe reads some of your books. So if somebody wants to run that, send me a message or put a comment.
I don't know how to do it. What is it? Anyway, I don't know how to. I don't know what a book club you have to do.
Just nominate the book, Joe. Anyway, I'll tell you. Yeah, we can.
Okay.
I can help.
I've got a book actually. I've got a book actually, really good book. I just finished it. It's free on PDF. It is by the author that Charlie, if everyone remembers Charlie, a couple of episodes back, he recommended it. It's called Debt Millionaire. But it's another one by that author. It's free. I will send it to you. That'll be our first book. It all is talking about leverage, and it's very interesting. I promise it's something you've never heard before. So there you go, book club.
Jeez, that can be the first one for book club. So what's your life hack, Joe? Is that your life hack?
No, actually. Oh, it's very much related. So I like to read a lot of books. I always have a couple of books on the go. I want to be the guy that reads, 100 books a year. But no, that's not the way to do it. You've got to take a book, digest it, reread it, go back to chapters, highlight it, I write pages up about, hey, what did I learn in this chapter? And then just keep going on that. So today I wanted to buy actually that book that I was just talking about, Debt Millionaire. It's from a guy over in the US, but it's going to take weeks for the book to get over here. So I just bought the Kindle version, and I've smashed through so much of the book so quickly being on the Kindle, like on your iPhone. So that's my life hack. You don't need to wait. I was going to wait weeks. No, I started reading it this morning. Kindle it is.
That's a top one, mate. I love a good Kindle. I think I've lost about 4 or 5 of them in my time just leaving them on trains. It's a really crappy thing to do. Leave the Kindle. So much knowledge. I'm educating the world by leaving my Kindle. But yeah, great life hack. Love it, boys. Should we get into the first sponsor, Joe? Because I'm so pumped. I want to get to this.
Mate, let's just get into the meat and potatoes of this. Let's intro our sponsor, and then we can intro our amazing guest.
Yep. Let's do it, Joe.
You would have seen him on the 7 p.m. project campaigning against agent underquoting. Scott is an expert negotiator through and through. Every single day, he is negotiating with real estate agents to get the best price for his clients. To give you a bit of a background, Scott has been working in real estate since 1995, and as a real estate agent, built up 3 Bell franchises. He was the guy teaching the agent all the tips and tricks to get the most out of the buyers. However, Scott realized that there was actually no one on the side of the person buying the property, and he saw them constantly letting emotion get in the way and paying way over for the property. And that's why he created Hello House, Australia's first property negotiation as a service business, where he is on the side of the buyer. In hot markets like we have now, you need absolutely every single edge that you can get. These agents are trained professionals, and they are there to get the most money out of you, which is why you need to have an expert of your own in your own corner. The way it works, you find the property, then Scott will come in at the negotiation phase and take over for you. Before you get the property for he'll ensure that you don't overpay. He comes in, knocks the real estate agent down on price. No more agent games, no more tricks, no more tactics. He is there for you. Scott has been kind enough to offer us an amazing discount on his service, and I've personally just seen a friend pay $20,000 more on a property because of these agent games. Reach out to him with the link below. It'll be the best property investment you will ever make.
That was super seamless, Joe. I'm impressed. Your new laptop is working absolute wonders. Thank you,
Pro. That's what they call it for the professional.
Oh, love it. So that's thanks Scott and I think negotiation is probably, we haven't talked about it before, Chris, but negotiation is probably something that you've done very effectively in your journey, I'm sure. But anyway, that's beside the point. I'm going to give you the intro to end all intros tonight. So what we're speaking about here is the thing that I put the first thing I pulled out of the info you sent is you're competitively a power lifter, or you were. So that's you bring in the big guns tonight, bring in the big ammo. And the other thing I love about you is you're a guy that gives back. You're a person that gives back. You've worked in community service for about 15 years. So you've worked with homeless youth, sat on many galas chatting to kids. And that leads us, I suppose, to 5 years ago, you were 40 or 60K, around that sort of in debt, and you didn't know how to manage your money. You hit the point where you need to figure out a system. And in that's kind of in that it's not a rock bottom, but it's kind of close to sort of what I would consider a snap point. You ended up sort of paying off your HECS, and in 12 to 18 months, you paid out 60K. And the biggest lesson, I suppose, is your relationship changed the money. And from that, you went from frivolous, I would call it, to, or potentially frivolous, to financially savvy. 60K to 2.5 million owning 5 properties, buying 4 in 15 months. So what have I missed out on the journey? How did I go?
Oh, you guys give me way too much credit, but thank you.
And also, your lovely wife is a big part of that journey as well. Let's give her some
Yeah,
credit.
absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Like, you know, in terms of that, I first and foremost, I've got to acknowledge her, because this interview is only one half of the story. And without her, there's no way any of this could be possible, you know. And they say it's all about hanging around people that are smarter than you, right? So that's kind of what I do. That's why I'm here tonight with you guys. And look, I guess I also wanted just to thank our community as well. You know, I just think we live in amazing times to be able to learn from each other as peers. And on my journey, everyone here is just absolutely phenomenal. So I've been a long time lurker, and a lot of my knowledge has been, you know, crowdsourced. It's been from peer learning here in this community. So I just want to say thank you so much to everyone.
No, that's awesome. I would I suppose it's interesting, the property kind of industry, because sometimes it can be a bit kind of like, I hate using this term, but dog eat dog, for want of a better term. But I think it's kind of, it shouldn't necessarily, doesn't have to be that way, people. So let's get into Joe's first question, because I know he loves. I'm sure you got a good. I think you love asking this question, Joe. So over to Joe.
Over to Joe. Well, no, first question, always a good one, because what you read, what you ingest is kind of the information that you take in is kind of an indicator of success at times. But what book are you currently reading, Chris?
So I don't really read books. This is going to sound like a real shock, but I haven't had much time lately to read books. I'm more of a podcast kind of guy. And I like
what podcasts are you listening to?
Look, anything property related. Smart Property Investment is a big one. Obviously, Pizza and Property. You know, I sort of gravitate around all the main ones. And yeah, look, I just, you know, maybe it's a life hack. I just love listening to podcasts, whether it's in the car or going for a walk or something like that. Just the way that you can get information coming in. So I haven't got any sort of books that I'm reading at the moment. There is one I'm interested in reading, actually, and that's by a guy called Richard de Crespigny. And he was a Qantas pilot. And it's this thing all about leadership under pressure. And he was flying this, I think, A380 Airbus, like the largest airplane in the world. And basically these 2 engines blew out at the same time, and he had to land the plane. And what they did, they inverted the logic. So they basically said, look, let's not focus on all the things that are going wrong. Let's look at how basically, like, there was like fuel dripping down the fuel line on top of the engine. So they were able to look at what was actually going right, even though all their electronics went offline and all this crazy stuff. So I love this idea of inverting the logic. And so that is a book that I do want to read.
Yeah. Sounds like you've already read it.
Well, I don't need to read anymore. I know how the story ends. He survived. He wrote the book.
That's all I need.
Right. No, that's really interesting. And the thing I'm taking away, like a lot of Formula One drivers, or they talk about when you're racing these cars, if you focus on crashing, you will crash. Whereas if you focus on, okay, let's not focus on where we're not going to go. Let's focus on where we're actually going and what we can do. So yeah, that's what I take from that. So fantastic. And there's a podcast I think will blow your mind if you already know it. It's an American one, but it's called Bigger Pockets. Have you heard of Bigger Pockets, Chris?
No, I haven't. Bigger Pockets.
Yeah, hit it up. I mean, it is American centric. So they kind of talk about owning like 500 doors, and I'm just like, why would you want to own that many doors? I just like, but it's this whole syndication. It's good fun, and it's you listen to it, don't you, Joe? Bigger Pockets.
I will now.
Yeah, it's good because they get like, it's a good mix of inspiration versus kind of tactical. And although you probably aren't going to do that in Australia, it's just kind of, it's really interesting to hear what they talk about and what they're doing across the pond.
And so, that is why we're here today, is to learn Chris's story. So, mate, I'm a little interested I want to go back right to the beginning and understand like, what was the shift that made you from 60K in debt to be like, okay, now it's time that I start putting my financial foot down and start accelerating things? What was the breaking point? What made it happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So like for me, like growing up, I would look at my parents and they had a really strong work ethic. So mum raised 4 boys and dad worked a blue collar job and he supported all of us. And they actually invested in shares and property themselves. But I didn't really know anything about that. And I didn't appreciate that too much later in life. So my first experience of earning money was doing a paper run. So dad would take me down to the local news agency Sunday mornings. I'd fill up this duffel bag full of newspapers and I'd walk around the neighborhood and I'd sell them for like $1. And, you know, I was like 12 years old or something. And then I'd get maybe $5 or $10 a week from that, you know, and it was interesting because I realized later on, it would have been way easier for my dad to just stay home and just give me the pocket money, right? Like he wouldn't have to get out in the car, drive me down, all that sort of stuff. But he didn't do that. So what my parents wanted to do was for me to understand the value of money and wanted me to understand work ethic. So I got the work ethic part, and it wasn't until much later in life I actually understood the money part. So for me, with my journey, like a typical teenager, as you grow up, you don't sort of listen to your parents that much. And I got to this point where I was in 40K in debt, and then I sort of started to realize some of the lessons that my parents were trying to teach me. How I got to that point, I was always the kind of guy who just give a lot of himself. So, and that included money that wasn't mine. So I had a good job, steady income, but I didn't know how to manage money. And that meant that I'd be the guy who would go out and I would buy drinks for everyone. I'd be that kind of guy. And I'd just be like, hey, it's all good. I'll just put it on the credit card. I'll put it on the credit card. Then I'll get a personal loan, maybe get another credit card. And credit, by the way, I found if you're on a steady income, it was super easy to get, you know, and I was not financially literate in that regard, you know, in terms of the products that you can sort of get. So anyway, I kind of reached this point where I had about 40K in debt. And this was sort of around the time that I met my now wife, and she was really patient, understanding, because for me, like, it was really embarrassing. There's like, you just feel a lot of shame around that. And even like now, this is the first time I'm publicly talking about this. So, you know, I was really adamant when I met her that like, I didn't want her to inherit my mistakes. Yeah. So that was a real like kick up the pants to say, okay, I really need to, you know, sort of clean up my act. And it was really interesting because what I started to do was I basically drew up this Excel spreadsheet and I listed all my debts. I mapped it all out and I started researching, you know, 0-rate credit cards. And I basically put in these deadlines into the spreadsheet that I wanted. And I filled out this fortnightly entry with the total amount that I would pay off. And then I'd have down the bottom of the spreadsheet would be the remaining balance. And then I'd say to myself, okay, this line here, this is the date that I'll be debt free. And I kind of had this truth bomb, this realization, because something my dad used to say when I was younger, he said, you know, when you're spending money, make sure you write it down, put it down on a ledger of some sort so that you're, you know, it's basically out of your head. You know, once it's written down, it's accountable to something else. So, you know, it took me to get to that moment, to get it through my thick skull, some of the things that my dad was trying to teach me.
That's funny. And yeah, there's so many small lessons that you looking back are right there in front of you that you don't even think about as an adult.
Oh, 100%.
So could I ask how, over what period of time did you get to that kind of 40K? Was it sort of like a 2-year period or a 5-year period?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably, I'm going to say probably 4 or 5 year period, I think.
Okay. So just slowly compounded.
Just slightly compounded, you know, and you sort of like, you know, you maybe go through uni or whatever and just sort of, when you start getting that first paycheck, you know, it can be a little bit like, oh, wow, cool, you know, money. And that's the thing, like, well, you know, this was all before Afterpay as well, you know. It's a
speaking of Back to the Future, Chris, can we, if you have a DeLorean in your backyard, could we go back and do a kind of do a Back to the Future? I don't know if it's number 2 or number 3, and go and figure out and tell ourselves to go and invest money in Afterpay, because at its IPO, anyway, I digress. But the interesting thing about that is it's kind of like a death by 1,000 paper cuts, right? It's just a very slow, gradual process, which is kind of, and it's about compound interest. You either compound interest, as they say, Warren Buffett says, is the eighth wonder of the world. You either those who understand it earn it, those who don't take it. So yeah, let that one sit.
No, he's definitely a smart man, that guy. Mr. Buffett. Okay, cool. Well, not a good place to be. What was the tipping point? What turned you into a property investor, right? So you then paid off, I imagine you got down to that final dollar, you paid off your debts, and you've got this system in place now where you're putting a lot of money away to pay off debts. And you're just like, now it's turning into savings. I now have a bit of a deposit. Like, how did you actually get into the property market?
Yeah, absolutely. So once I sort of changed my relationship to money, that's when I could start seeing it as it's neither good nor bad. It's just a tool that we sort of use, and we shouldn't be afraid of it. So probably, for us, we started in 2016 where we bought our PPOR. And that's when we sort of started, and we basically bought, worst house on the best street. And we just, we gutted that completely. We renovated that, sorry. And it was amazing because we had a lot of incredible support from family, in particular my father-in-law, who decided he wanted to give us a living inheritance. This idea that he could come in and support us for a solid period of months. And he's just got all this incredible knowledge around renovating and just making things. So that was amazing to sort of be involved in that and see basic stuff. Before that, I wouldn't know what was behind plasterboard, and
what is plasterboard? Is it yeah?
There's fluffy stuff apparently, and a bit of wires and whatnot. Yeah.
Nothing too exciting. Nothing too exciting. Oh, we've lost him.
No, he's back. He's there.
Is he? That is the question. No. I think I think the mic's gone off again.
Has it? The lapel.
Lapel.
So Joe, what? Yeah. Whilst maybe we should.
I'm excited. Well, I'm keen to how he got into it. Right. I love the idea of older people, living inheritance. A lot of people are at the end of my life, I'm going to give away everything. There's a concept that's go to zero. So your income is zero when you pass on. So you can give out all your income and give out all your assets over your lifespan. I really like the idea and the concept of that. So I don't care. If my parents were to help me out right now, that would be so much more efficient and effective, and I could use it so much better than when I'm 50 years old and they give me an inheritance, right? It doesn't really matter. So I love the idea of parents helping out parents, maybe giving a bit of a hand up rather than a big old hand out.
Hand out, yeah. It's interesting because I think we might have Chris back, do we?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yep.
Yep.
We got you back.
Joe and I were just riffing. So we were sort of talking about, you were talking about plasterboard and your first reno and
so yeah, give us the rundown. So 2016 is when you purchased, and then what happened to the first investment property? How did you fall? You did a couple of renos, you got the feel for the property thing, but 2016, 17, 18, 19, 3 years later, were you looking at investment property this whole time? How did you fall into the investing world?
Yeah, we were never planning to invest. We had always sort of had this idea that, okay, you buy a house and then you just get the mortgage down and you pay it off, right? Sort of
right. A lot of people do it that way.
Yeah, and that's the sort of idea that we sort of had. And so we had just been going along and getting that paid down, saving a bit of money at the same time as well. And in 2019, I just finished up a job. I was in between jobs, and I had about a month off or so.
So hang on, just to cut you off here, Chris. You're just a bit of background on your job. You're not a super rich doctor, or are you a surgeon? Surely someone who buys 4 properties has a massive 200, 300K salary.
Well, no, not really. So I just had a pretty standard job, 80K a year. work in project management. I work in community services. So, just run-of-the-mill income. My wife is a marine scientist, so she earns a similar income to mine. So nothing sort of, not like 300K plus or anything like that at all.
Well, this is the awesome part of your story. Sorry to cut you off there, but I just wanted to give people a bit of context around he was working a big job and he was making all this money. No. You were just a normal guy doing a normal job on a normal salary. So sorry, keep going, mate. Keep going.
No, absolutely.
We're talking about how got into buying your first kind of property and the journey to get there. Like you sort of originally you're like going to pay down this mortgage, but you thought, what is it that? Yeah, I think there's a really cool story about this because I want to hear this story. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was in between jobs, so I was basically unemployed for about a month, and we were looking at doing some backyard renovations, doing some landscaping at the time. So we went out for a walk, my wife and I, and we're just along this bike track, and so I'm like looking at houses around me, right? And
you were perving on properties is the word.
I was perving on properties, exactly. I was perving on properties. I still perv on properties. Perv on properties every day, but so I was perving on one particular property, and I wasn't watching where I was going, and I literally tripped on the sidewalk, and I tumbled down the hill and sprained my ankle really badly, like it was cooked, it was stuffed, like. I was on crutches for like 6 weeks. So I couldn't walk at all. And I was just like lying on the couch. And I thought to myself, what am I going to do? And I thought to myself, look, I've always wanted to learn about finance. So that's what I did. I jumped on YouTube and I started learning about sort of finance and stock market and just watching stuff about macroeconomics and just trying to wrap my head around a lot of stuff. And I did this probably 10 hours every day straight.
What was some of your diet? What was your education diet? So like YouTube wise?
Pretty much anything I could get my hands on. I would just bounce through a lot of different stuff. I'd look at sort of, I think it's Khan Academy, Ray Dalio, sort of like those basic stuff that talk about, I guess I tried to focus on coming from an evidence-based place instead of like, clickbaity type videos, but I guess you kind of bounce around. And that was really interesting because in that journey, there's a heap of noise. And it was really, really interesting to try and figure out what's noise and what's not,
What are some of the ways that because there's a lot of people out there that sort of, they bounce around different suburbs, they bounce around different strategies. What are some of the ways that you personally just sorted the wheat from the chaff in your journey?
Oh, fuck. Mike's gone on.
Yeah.
Just change the source to your Mac, your computer mic, or your AirPods, because the AirPods sound really good.
How's that? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Is that the pods?
Yeah, the pods. How about that?
That's even better. Yeah.
Is that all right?
Champion. Yeah, that's amazing, mate. I mean, you're clear as day. So,
Thanks, Apple.
So, what were some of the ways that you decipher the really good kind of content as opposed to the rubbish that you wouldn't? Yeah,
absolutely. So we had like all this information, and I started to get a bit of a taste for this thing called property. I looked at shares too, but just kind of didn't have the same feel, like just this idea of it being sort of tangible. But basically, I started doing a Word document. And I started collecting like comments that people were talking about on Facebook threads, and I'd get YouTube videos and I'd copy, and I'd have I'd have like a massive list of all these books that I'm supposed to read, but I never bought or read, which I can forward to you, Joe. So I ended up having this massive Word document with all this stuff on it, and I'd collect I'd watch a video and then I'd get my computer and I'd type up a certain quote that someone would mention, because I'm like, that resonated with me. And what I'd sort of end up with was this heap of data on this Word document. And then to separate, different things, I started to see certain themes pop up. And one thing that kept coming up was this idea of, looking at capital growth in terms of investment and using that as a bit of a springboard to as a springboard to the next one. And looking at sort of stuff around established houses as well, and thinking about location and proximity to amenities, all that sort of stuff. So I started seeing these themes pop up again and again and again. And when that was the case, I realized, okay, these are the time-tested techniques, and these are things that we should probably, sort of start to look at.
So did you venture down the house and land package route, like the negative gearing, off-the-plan apartments, house and land packages? Like, did that ever enter into your sphere?
It did a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. There was something about, because we had bought this house and renovated it, and we sort of realized, well, there was something, we started to see real value in that, and the fact that we bought an older house and renovated it, and it had character as well. So that was kind of why, I guess that taught me that it's okay if you buy an older place and need to do a renovation, that's okay. Like, as long as you've got the resources and the time to put into it, that's okay. Whereas house and land package, I was like, look, there's probably not much we can sort of do with that. And then I realized, well, if that's the case, if it is going to go up in value, we're just going to have to wait for the market to take that up. There's no ability to really generate equity.
Any value at all. You have
that's actually amazing. Yeah, that's amazing that you're able to kind of work that out sort of by yourself, because for a lot of people, and they have to go through an experience of seeing that before it happens. So you kind of avoided it by actually doing your research, and that's amazing. And I think one of Joe's questions that he would want to ask is, what were some of those things, some of those metrics that you looked at? Proximity to amenities is one of them. What were some of the other things that you looked at or came across that were time tested?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for us, it all came down to asset selection, and that was really important in our strategy. I guess I'm kind of moving forward a little bit here, but asset selection being vital. So we knew that capital growth was going to be the vehicle for us, and we needed equity to springboard to the next one. We sort of looked at cities and towns. So we've invested in our home state, and the reason for that is because we live and breathe the area and we know it so well. And we sort of had this hypothesis that if we could understand those areas really well, then, essentially we could minimize some of our risks around that. So we looked at cities and towns. We looked at stuff around strategic plans on council websites. We sort of tried to figure out, okay, is there any upcoming economic developments happening? And then we ended up looking at those areas sort of street by street. Some of the things that we looked at was around the location. So this question like, okay, it's got to be desirable to current renters, but also when we sell it later on, is this going to be something that people kind of want to buy? We were looking at potential. So, this idea that, it could be, could be a tired house, but it could actually be the best street. We wanted something that was
the worst house in the street.
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted something established. We thought we like this idea of proud homes. So you might have something that's older, but like, it's nice to see an older home where you've got an owner that's really taken care of it. So we weren't put off by the idea of having.
Should we show? Is it too early to look under the bonnet and look at some of the renovations that you've done, or I don't know? Am I talking out of turn here, Joe?
I think we're a little bit early. I want to say.
All right. We've got to prime the chicken a little bit more. We've got to test the temperature.
Yeah. So Jeff, what Jeff's referring to is Chris has shared a whole big slideshow kind of thing of all the renovations he's done. So, but I want to see that. Do you
say yes
in
the comment? Say renovation in the comment.
Reno. Bye.
Don't encourage it.
I have to say. But okay, let's run through the purchase of the first one. That's what I'm excited about, right? What tipped you over the edge? Give us a rundown on the deal and what it kind of looked like. So you were looking at capital growth. We've found an area that we know really well. What happened next?
Yeah, absolutely. So we found an area that we liked really well, that we knew really well and we liked. So we kind of went street by street in that area, and we ended up buying, I'd say a really good street. And we had some real insider knowledge because we ended up buying on the same street that my wife had grown up in. So she knew the area really well. Like, we spent time like just talking to people in the area as well, and just going for walks and all that sort of stuff. So we, late 2019, So basically, to give you some of an understanding, we were looking in an area that was a 300-kilometer drive away. So if we wanted to go up and have a look, we'd have to get in the car and basically do, a 6.5 drive, during the day. And we did that quite a lot. We would go up, we'd inspect a property, come back home. We'd do that sort of again and again and again. But each time we did, we'd learn more and more and more about the area, and we'd learn more about, the suburb and that. So in terms of this first one, we purchased that, and it was pretty tired. It was like a 1968 4-bed, 2-bath, top of this nice hill, but it had some things that we really appreciated. It had this X factor to it because it's actually got water view. And we've always thought, okay, look, that is something that, I think in the future is going to be quite desirable. And we know for renters, it's going to be something that, who doesn't appreciate water views?
Okay, well, maybe this is a good chance to bring into the
bring some visuals, Joe.
Come screen share, but I do
whilst Joe's getting it up. I will say that, and I think you said you drove something like 30,000 kilometers in that search for. Was that just the first property, or was that kind of all your properties that you bought?
That's all of them. So I worked out throughout the entire period. We had 45 trips there and back. Jeez. So it ended up being 31,500 kilometers. So yeah, fair amount of driving.
Yeah, so and that's what I would sort of. There's two things before Joe gets this slideshow. What I would say is, Chris said it's his own backyard, but I would say it's more about the reason why it was his own backyard is because he really understood that particular pocket of the world. So whether that's 10 hours away or 10 kilometers away, you have to really understand what that piece is about. And you're not just buying it because it's close or because you know it. You're buying it because it actually ticks the boxes for a start. And then he actually put the hard yards in, the hard work in. He didn't. And if you're going to do it yourself, these are probably the kind of things you need to do rather than just saying going out to an open home, going to the shops and buying a property. I think that's kind of the message I'm taking.
Yes, absolutely. And also, just touching on that too, there's two types of data we were looking at. We were looking at real estate and domain. We were tracking sales data. We were doing a bit of stuff on microburbs as well. But then thinking about what does data represent? It represents activity. It represents desirability. So that's where being on the ground and going to local cafes and walking the streets and looking at people's gardens to see how people are taking care of their properties. All of that sort of stuff was data for us. So that's why every time we got in the car and did that visit, that was like a big expose into data, and it just gave us such richness,
Yeah. Hey, you got some goodies here, Joe, that Chris has shared with us. Right now I'm seeing the Matrix.
You can see the screen. Are you on my screen?
Yeah, I see the Matrix.
Oh, why can you see the Matrix? Oh.
I don't know. Which one did you share?
I was deliberately not being on the Matrix.
That's why I was like, I was sort of like, that's why Joe gets this up. I'll kind of.
Hey, is this?
This is live.
Can you see this? Can you see what we want?
That's the one, Joe. Talk us through it, Chris. Or kind of
what have we got? So this is property number 1. So we're going to look at the before photos. So can you give us a bit of a rundown, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is I think 1952 house. It was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. We basically, just pause on that photo for a second.
This one?
Yeah. Can you see those white blocks on the wall there?
Yeah. That's the putty where they've covered up holes or something. Oh, you're talking about?
No. That's nicotine staining. All the yellow on those walls and ceiling was nicotine stains, believe it or not.
Oh, so you're telling me the wall was white and the yellow is nicotine?
Correct.
That's insane.
It was wild. We literally had a karcher and we're just karchering the walls, and there's stuff from Ghostbusters was just dripping down the walls. So, yeah, we pretty much had to gut it. So And this is where my father-in-law and my mother-in-law were absolutely amazing, and they came in and just rolled up their sleeves and got in and just really were incredible at guiding us through it all.
So that's interesting. So you had a bit of help, you had a bit of a helping hand in it. So what were some of the things that as a first-time investor, you've never done this stuff before, what did you do? Like, what was the actual, you haven't got a trades background. Like, what did you actually do in the job?
So this house here is our PPOR. So this is this is our PPOR, not our first investment property. But
look at this. Oh, jeez.
So my father-in-law, this is where he gave the living inheritance, and he spent, so many weeks and weeks and weeks, like just doing an incredible job. And I was more sort of an observer at this one, because I didn't really feel confident knowing sort of what to do. But being there and being part of the journey, gave us the confidence to then say, okay, if we ever do this again, we've got a bit of an idea of what to do. And that's when we started going into buying the next property.
So pause on that one, Joe. One thing I'm seeing here, I see a view of a mountain. I imagine you're around the sort of
Mount Wellington
area.
Yes, that's.
Oh, I was going to say
Mount
that.
Nearby.
Yeah.
But
so was there any intentionality in buying sort of with a view with that kind of thing? Because I think for me that would draw. I love kind of looking at mountains. Is that something that you considered, or was just happenstance?
Look, the decision around buying this one and the location was actually largely down to my wife, and she did an absolutely incredible job around that. She is the brains in this whole operation in terms of knowing all these incredible little X factors, and that was definitely a huge one, because this house was I'd say the worst house on the best street in this area.
I'm not surprised.
Not anymore. This looks like one of those models.
Oh, wow.
You know how they they model it out on the computer before they do it? This is a sensational job.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Look at that.
As we started doing the fit out, that's where we became more sort of hands on. So we started doing, the more cosmetic stuff like the flooring, helping to assemble the kitchen, painting, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, this is our PPOR after.
So how long
is that marble bench tops or granite?
No, it's not. It's buddings actually. But funny you say that, because a few people have said, "Is that marble?"
Yeah.
It's a little in a whisper as well. Sensational work. So what was the time period to get this? This is where you are now. What was the time period to get this done?
God, this is testing my memory a bit, but probably about, I think, 8 months or so in total.
8 months. Oh, wow.
Pretty decent. Months. So,
yeah.
I think maybe 6 months. I'd have to check on the timeline, but what was happening at this point, my wife and I were both, we were engaged at the time. We were working full time. She was running a small business on top of that. And we were planning a wedding as well. So yeah, we had a lot going on. So we would come along and do stuff in the evening after we finished work. So this is now moving on.
You don't do things in half measures, Chris. You when you do something, you dive in. Like you buy.
That's it.
So now we're back in. Now we're back in. We're back in the northern part of Tasmania here. So you've driven many kilometers. You've driven 300 and odd kilometers. What are we looking at here?
So this was our first investment property. This is a 4-bed, 2-bath. It's on a large corner block. This is the one that is sort of our, I guess we're going to call it our flagship for the portfolio, because it's the one we're most proud of, and we, just so happy with how it's been performing. And this is where we did by far the biggest renovation that we did. So this was.
It looks like it's got a good bone. Like it's got got that kind of solid brick in. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Super solid bones. So we bought that. It settled in, I think, February 2020. We finished up the renovation around August. So it took us 6 months to do. And because it was a little bit tricky, so I was actually in a casual job at the time. So I had the flexibility I'd basically work 3 days a week, drive up there, 4 days, stay there, then drive back, and sort of just keep doing that rinse and repeat. And my wife would come up and spend time where she could to get away from work. So I spent a lot of time in that house in a construction site.
That's interesting. So one of the things is the time. So during that period, you would have had to have been paying your own rent. You would have been paying the mortgage. So did you look at that saying, hey, I should probably pay someone to speed this process up? Or did that not come into a thought at all?
Oh, absolutely. When we first got there, like the ceiling was like bubbling, and it was just like, you know, paint flaking off, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I was trying to like patch it up with top coat and then sand it back, and it was just like, what the hell is going on here? The whole place was covered in wallpaper, so we had to strip all that. But once I realized, okay, there is actually a hell of a lot of work involved in this, that's when we started engaging tradespeople. And we were really lucky to have an amazing carpenter who lived nearby to come on, and this was a big project for him. And so he would come in and be there, and we would sort of basically a bit like a trades assistant, and he was really generous with teaching us and showing us, and really happy for us to learn from him as well, which is really, really cool.
So when you walked in here, how did you determine what you needed to do? Like, did you knock walls down to add an extra bedroom? Did you say, hey, this kitchen needs to be opened up? Like, how did you come in here and say, you know what, this place has got potential?
When we first came in, I freaked out a bit. I was pretty resistant to it because my wife has this incredible vision, and she sees further into the future than I do. And she,
look at that.
Yeah, she just had this vision, and she's like, I'm telling you, Chris, this house is going to be amazing. And so we didn't really know what to expect.
I can see it. I would have bought. I'm like, geez, I want to buy this place. Like, why can we take the law and can I buy this place instead of you? Like, looks bloody good.
Yeah, so that's sort of what happened. And what we started to do was just sort of uncover a bit of a process. So this was the first time we were doing this solo as a renovation, and really sort of digging into some of those old tips and stuff that we'd learned a few years previous from like father-in-law, and seeing other trades come in and work as well.
Yeah. So could I ask a question about Could I ask a question about the process of acquiring and buying it? I'm looking at this now, and I'm just thinking, like, if I'm an owner occupier, I'm like, you know, it's too much hard work. It's kind of, it seems like it's very run down. Did you sort of use that to your advantage to say, well, we're going to have to spend, I don't know, whatever it is, 40, 50, 100,000 on the property, whatever you spent. Did you sort of use that to your advantage? Or did you just say, look, we're not going to stuff around? How did the negotiation go? I'm just interested.
In terms of purchasing, we basically bought it at what we paid for. So we didn't sort of, that was our first property. We didn't muck around. We weren't like experienced around negotiation. I think we maybe paid, it could have been possibly 5K below what it was advertised for, or it was at, or I think that's what we actually was advertised for. So yeah, we didn't really muck around with that. But we sort of had built up a decent amount of savings. You know, we had enough there to do a reno, and we end up spending 55 grand on it, on the reno. And like, in terms of that, we made up the plan as we went along. So what I'd say to someone would be, look, if you probably, if you want to do something that big, you probably need to allocate, 50 to 70K for something like that. And as long as you have that buffer there, that's when you can sort of go along as you go. So we developed sort of spreadsheets as we went. We kind of, built the plane as we were flying it.
Love that. How much was the purchase price?
$295.
And how much is it worth now?
It's been market appraised at $495.
So $295 to $495. So 55K. Yeah. So you've got $165,000 in equity sitting in there.
Yeah, effectively. That market appraisal was a couple months old, so
yeah, market's probably moved. Let's check out this. Look
at that. That's amazing. Like,
so did you knock down walls? Like, how did this?
Yeah, one wall. So can you see that border on the floor? That's where the wall was. So if you look at the picture on the left, do you see where that microwave is sitting? where the cabinet.
Yeah,
on the old one, that's that wall there. So we knocked out that wall, and
and that
so
opened
up
place
the living space. Yeah, exactly. It was pretty small and pokey before.
Oh, so you actually covered in the fireplace, did you?
Yes, yep. Oh, it had one of those old defunct, those old defunct gas heaters.
The oil ones.
Oil one, yeah.
Freestanding.
Kerosene, I think, yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, so we ripped that out.
Brick
so did all the floors, did all the painting, gave it a nice cosmetic refresh. So the only thing that we like, we just had one wall that we took out. And the
How good did it feel
kitchen.
ripping up the carpet and seeing good quality floorboards?
Oh, it was pretty well. Yeah, they didn't look like that.
Obviously,
this was covered in like this black glue that we had to scrape up with a floor scraper.
Oh, look at that bathroom! Man, that looks amazing. I don't know. I want to hear what are people's thoughts on this? Like we've got nearly close to 50 people watching. Like how are people loving this kind of? I'd call this an absolute masterclass in renovation. Like this is just this is the sort of type of thing that you get Sherry Barber. I mean, not that I want to plug Sherry, but I mean she's the kind of she's the first person that came to mind. Like renovation school or Bernadette's Jansen we've got on next week. Are people loving it? Like what are you sort of? I mean, we're going to get some question around this, I'm sure, but how good is it? Like this is So
what I'm looking at here, right, is that you have done nothing you've done some spectacular work, but
bloody amazing,
bloody amazing. But you haven't done anything crazy, right? All you've done is removed a wall, which is pretty easy, and then you get someone to pop this stuff up. But like literally, this is from Bunnings. You can put this together by yourself. You've filled in a fireplace, you've painted, you've gotten the floor sanding done, and you haven't done a massive structural rechange. You just tore out the tub and put a thing in there. Not to undermine this in any way, but anybody could do this, right? You're just again a normal guy that was able to do all of this work with his hands. And I imagine, obviously, plumbing and stuff like that, you would have got someone in for. But this is pure and simple sweat equity in this.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, 100%. And both of us, like my wife and I, she did an absolutely amazing job. And that's the thing. Like it just takes work. And,
so what were the biggest challenges in this renovation that we're looking at now? What were the hardest things for you guys to overcome?
The hardest thing to overcome, like physically, you mean, in terms of like the work that we put in, or just like actual on the job?
Probably
the travel. The travel was a big one. Like
maybe maybe on the job of the renovation.
On the job, biggest thing on the job for me, not the biggest challenge was probably learning the process as you go along. That was so, for example, like you would say, okay, we want to take this wall out. And I'd probably be like, oh, no, we can't do that. That's too much.
The low-bearing wall, maybe. It's a low-bearing wall.
Stuff like that, exactly. So you kind of need to learn a bit of a process. So we learned really quickly around working top down, that sort of stuff. What was also challenging was, I guess, the time that things would take. So just like attention to detail, because we were really focused on a lot of detail. So things would just take a long time. And that's probably a good thing, because that meant we really wanted to make this like a space where someone would come into, and we wanted it to feel like a holiday home. We've got the water view, we've got the new kitchen. We just wanted it to feel absolutely mint. And that was really important for us as investors, saying, look, we want to create good spaces for people so that they can come in. And, like we've rented before, and we know, you can have a really crap time living in a dingy unit. And we're just we want to make this a better experience for people.
Yeah. Wow. That's and that's a big part of your investing ethos. It's about kind of giving somebody a good environment to live in, because I think we spend a lot of time in our homes, particularly now with COVID, unfortunately. But sort of you want it, and if you can give somebody that experience, they'll be it's like the tenant is your customer. They're the one paying off your mortgage. They're the one supporting your financial future. So you want to make sure you look after them.
So what like
100%.
actually doing the work? Like, I mean, obviously flying out there, I mean, driving up there and doing the stuff, but like, what was the hardest thing to do? Because
Painting, or was it jackhammering? I don't know. Was it jackhammering?
I don't know, but because I remember when I did my first reno, all I did was on the wallpaper with a big Sharpie was just write a big list of the things that we had to do, and then as we were cutting them off, we just get the big Sharpie and then just write it off the wall.
Yeah.
These are not reno hands, by the way. I've never done a physical reno myself. So. I will do a reno one of these days. I'll get the paint out.
I jacked the house up with a car jack. They're like, yeah, you need to get all this special equipment in. And I'm like, I've got a van here that can hold however many kilos. So I'm just going to jack, like it's only the corner of the house. So I just jack it up.
Did that go well? Or
it went very well. I mean, I was like as soon as I jacked it up, I put a brick underneath. As soon as I jacked it, put more stuff, and it kind of built up just in case it fell down and, I killed myself. But it worked. And then the guy was like, yeah, it'll cost $4,000 for me to do that for you. I'm like, no way I'm doing that. And then, so that is like my hardest thing, right?
Be careful trying this at home, kids. Be careful trying this at home.
But I installed the stump. I put the concrete. I did all the stuff that I needed to do. It was all done correctly. But that was a big challenge. But what I'm trying to say is like the rest is just easy. It's just hard work, scraping off the wallpaper, painting.
Yeah, that's it.
Installing the new kitchens, figuring out why Caboodle only gave you 7 screws when it's asking for 50. Those type of things. It's just those little annoying little features. But yeah.
That was a really big thing that you mentioned about the screws from the Caboodle kitchens and stuff, because supplies, that was a big issue, a big bugbear of mine was like getting supplies. And like, every time you would go for a trip down to Bunnings, you're like, okay, that's an hour out of the day that you lose. And then you start falling behind. And like you said, Joe, you don't expect to get the packet and it's missing screws that you need. And that small thing can hold up the process,
100%.
Yeah.
So now this place has grown in $200,000 worth of equity that you just have sat there, and you just bought it. Most people, what they do is they're like, "Wow, that was really good. I'm exhausted. Let's chill out. Let's go on a holiday. Let's withdraw some equity.
Let's go and buy a jet ski. Let's go and buy all this."
Love a jet ski. I love a jet ski. Let's kick back, max, and relax, and we've done our job. But you didn't. What happened after that?
Yeah,
Before
that's right.
we get into sponsor number 2, because we're nearly at the hour. Sorry to interrupt, Chris, but otherwise we've got to pay the bills, because we've got to keep the lights on. We've got to keep our fancy $10. Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to be talking for another half an hour. We're not going to be done.
Many people, probably because of the risks involved, but it's also one of the few asset classes that can give you a very positive cash flow from day one. With commercial property, you get some massive net yields of 6 to 10%. Now, that's not gross, that's net, which means it's cash in your pocket. This is what makes them so amazing. Your property can actually pay itself off within 10 years, grow in value, and without having you to chip in any cash at all. Now, with big rewards comes some big risk, which is why you should de-risk your investment as much as possible. The way you do this is with expert due diligence. This is why we highly recommend hiring professionals to help you along in your investing journey. Steve Polisi of Polisi Property is one such expert. He is one of Australia's top commercial property buyers agent. With his own multi-million-dollar property portfolio of a mix of commercial and residential, Steve has over 1,200 property transactions under his belt. He's the guy you want in your corner, crunching the numbers, finding the best properties in the best location, along with the ways to avoid the dud properties. Steve has even been the one to write the book of commercial property investing in Australia, and it's a bestseller. He's been generous enough to give us a massive discount to our audience of 50% with the code Aus Prop. Click the link below, get a copy today, and start your commercial property investing journey.
There you go. We've been almost masterful with the ads tonight. Just the tech, it's been amazing. Like the renovation's been amazing, and I've just had a quick sneaky the comments. Your wife Chris has said the toughest thing was some of the tradies and doing sanding the floor as well. Apparently,
did you guys sand the floor yourself?
Oh yes, and that was really interesting about the process, because this was our second time sanding floors. So we did floors at our PPOR. But this one is interesting. So we went up, I think, for the Easter break, and we sanded the floor. So we were able to hire the floor sander and get extra public holidays, right? So we're like, let's smash it. Let's sand the floors, right? Great. And then we're like, oh no, we need to do the rest of the house. So we end up having to relay the carpet over it to protect the floors that we'd sanded. And
wait, so you did it first? You did the floor sanding first?
To take advantage of the cheap hiring, right?
I tell you what's funny is
my
my first job was in Tasmania, and it was laying carpet. And I always used to go into like fully renovated houses, and I'd always be like, laying carpet, it's the last thing that you do. Putting the floors on, that's the last thing that you do. So it's funny, it's the first thing that you do.
Yeah.
I love it.
Why is it the last thing you do, though? Is it because it's the hardest task, or is it just the most logical to finish off the job? Anyway, I'm getting it.
It's just with shit will fall, you paint, it gives flats on the floor, it looks beautiful. You wipe it off, you're gonna, and then it doesn't cure. You've got to cure it for a little while, and you'll have to get like stuff to clean it up. It'll be a nightmare. Do it at the end. You don't have to worry. Okay, so how did it go though? Like, what is flooring sand like? Sanding floors like? Is it an easy thing to do? Is it just time consuming, or is there an art to it?
Look, it's pretty time consuming, and it's just hard work. Like, you end up sort of like pulling muscles in your back if you're not careful. You're kind of in this constantly sort of, exactly. If you don't have guns like Jeff, you're just really going to struggle with like being able to push the floor sand all the time. So I needed you there, mate.
So what I'm hearing is that you did absolutely everything. What are the 3 tasks that you will outsource next time? Even if you do, I mean, it sounds like you're doing it for the love of it, but if you were to outsource 3 tasks, what are the silly tasks that you need to kind of pass on to somebody else?
To be honest, probably the floor sanding. That would probably be a massive one.
I'll come down to Tassie. I'll once we open up the borders, I want to do this. It's kind of maybe my own kind of ego saying, I can do this one. I probably shouldn't be doing it, but yeah, I'll be keen to do that.
Absolutely. No way that I'm doing floor sanding. What else? What else would you outsource?
Outside the floor sanding, probably anything that like laying floors, for example. Like vinyl flooring. Like I could probably give that a go myself. But it is intricate, and you need to understand a bit about the process for that. If you don't have that, like, you just end up going to be wasting materials and time.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, for me, that's something I learned on the second one, was that we wanted to put some vinyl flooring down. I was like, no, we're going to get someone in to do that. And I jumped in and helped with that, and we did that together to save on, time and money.
Yeah.
But there's no way I just made that call, and I was like, no, I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm going to get someone in to do the floors. Anything that's intricate and fiddly.
And intricate and fiddly. That is actually my lesson. That is my tip as well. Anything intricate and fiddly, get somebody else, get a professional to do it. Like floor sanding. For me, it's painting. I don't paint. I'm not precious. I'm no good at getting in the corners. And then I paint them. I'm like, wow. You did it in 3 hours, and that would have taken me the full day. And well done. And you did it for a lot less than that I would do it for. So thank you very much. On the trades, how did you sort out the payment for them? Were you are live right now, so blink twice if you paid cash. So we don't want the tax man watching this. But
we're not named traders, so you could, of course,
yeah. So, did you have a fixed rate? Did you say, hey, I'm going to give you $1,500 to do this job? Or were you saying, hey, I'll give you $20 an hour? Yeah,
we actually used an hourly rate the licensed trades were just a fixed rate, but we had a carpenter that we negotiated an hourly rate that we were both really happy with. We just basically got in there and did it and just kept going day after day. And we'd check back in, like, because we were there, like, well, I was there for a lot of the time. So I could sort of just see and help. And it was both of us doing it. So we'd get an idea of, like, how are we tracking, how much more time do we need, etc.
Yeah. And you're setting the pace as well. You're there doing the work, and you can be on top of the tradies being like, this is how hard I'm working. Why aren't you working this hard? So you can be on top of it. I always like to if I'm not there, I always like to negotiate a fixed price for the
fixed
work.
price is usually best, I would say.
But when you're there on the day and you're charging $15, $20, $30, maybe not 15, but $30, $40 an hour, you can be on top of it, or you have a project manager to do this. Someone's mentioned in the comments here, what about laying carpet? Should you do that yourself, or should you give it to a professional? Absolutely, do not do it yourself. You need to stretch. The carpet needs to be stretched.
Yeah,
and,
I've seen somebody lay down carpet, and it's just, I'm like, I wouldn't even.
You get bubbles. You need a special tool that stretches the carpet out.
Yeah.
Now, you've picked up something there, Chris. Why is there Dr. Pepper and the DeLorean in one?
So Dr. Pepper, like I remember like drinking this stuff as a kid. Like
Absolutely.
You used to be able to get gold ring pulls, and you'd get 3 ring pulls and you swap them for Dr. Pepper. So that's how I would drink so much Dr. Pepper. But yeah, no, it's interesting. Every time I'd drive up and do the renovation, come back home, spend 4 days, and I'd have one of these on the drive home as a little celebration to be like, yes, another weekend down or something like that. So
go to the doctor.
And the added benefit was that I got the caffeine hit to get me home.
To get you home securely.
Yeah, exactly.
Joe, you want it now, mate. Well, you're not going to get to bed otherwise.
Joe,
I'll have a little sip.
I'm going to take hold of the reins a little bit, Joe, because we're past the hour. We haven't even got to the second investment property yet. So, how do you want to? We've got to have. There's going to be hundreds of questions that will come up. So,
okay, okay. So the biggest one. Let's move on from the renovation. The next one is, how the heck do you go from 1 property into 2 property into 3 properties into 4 properties? So we've got another slide, because this is a very visual show. Why not use it into your magical spreadsheet thing?
You got to share.
Yeah. Hang on. No, not that. Okay, so let's zoom in. I'm going to do this thing. Okay. Can you give us just a high-level snapshot of what we're looking at for this top section here?
Yes, absolutely. So our PPOR, we started with a cash deposit for that, and that was in 2016. And then we were with a lender, with a digital bank, and we refinanced to another lender in order to release that equity from the PPOR. And that was
Before we go further, can I just say, interrupting you, this is not financial advice, people. We don't have credit licenses, blah, blah, blah. So go and speak to your broker, speak to your bank, who probably don't speak to your bank, but all that good stuff. So this is just going to be Chris having a chat about what he did. Doesn't mean you should do this.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Jess.
but it sounds okay.
Yeah, we got you. Thanks, mate.
So, and what we did here, we refinanced to another lender. So that was pretty straightforward. We just took the equity out, that became our deposit, and then we were able to get the first investment property. When we went for the second and third one, so for me, I had a bit of a light bulb moment. I was listening to a podcast and Smart Property Investment, and Paul Glossop was talking, actually. He made this comment about getting your finances in order. And he says, be prepared to strike and strike accordingly. And that phrase just really stuck in my head. Be prepared to strike and strike accordingly. And I thought, well, we were thinking at the time, okay, well, let's see how far we can sort of push this. And that's where we we actually refinanced with a major lender. We took out equity from our PPOR. We took out equity from the investment property. And then we had a cashback as well. So we kind of had this equity pool, I guess I was calling it. And then we were able
what's a cashback refinance? Maybe Jeff, you might want to answer that, because it's might go into.
I'd need some. I mean, I would call. I'm not sure, because you've pulled equity. So what else are you doing aside from pulling equity?
Well, it was a refinance. So in order to pull out the equity, we had to do a refi. And I've just put that in there because one of the little bonuses was that you.
So what you're saying is you got a bonus for refinancing. You got one of these lenders who gave you.
So you were with.
That is very generous. Like I've seen.
That's very generous. Yeah, I think I got 3K.
Yeah.
So what happens is you're with NAB right now, for instance. NAB's great bank. I'm with them right now, actually. And then you refinance, and CommBank says, "Hey, if you come to CommBank, you come to a bank, I'll give you an extra 5K." Yeah. That's pretty much what happened. And then you pulled that into your funds. Now, one of the things I hear all the time is you've put equity, so you've mixed these funds and these funds together. So did you cross-securitize these loans or cross-collateralize these loans so they're both on one fund?
No, they weren't crossed. None of the loans are crossed at all.
Absolutely. And really why didn't you do that?
Oh, just because everything that we had read and heard suggested that crossing is a bad idea unless you're in a pretty advanced position and you know exactly what you're doing.
Perfect. Love it. No cross-securitizing. Let's do it. Not financial advice. Okay, so what's happened here? So let's just recap. We've got our PPOR. We're pulling 70K out of that, 50K out of that. We now have a little bit of funds to be able to buy investment number 2 and investment. I love how we've got a self-funded top-up here. And if anyone's good at math, the self-funded top-up from their first, they did their deposit. They got property number 1. They've now combined this. They've got property number 2. And to get property number 3, they've had to put in 5K.
Exactly. Yep. Good math. Quick math.
Quick math. I don't do public math, but I've done a bit just now there, and I feel very comfortable with that. So this is why we say, like, how important is the first one? It is one of the most important things that you can do. If you mess it up, and this is why your knowledge and your wife's experience of the local area, and then the experience that you got, you were able to leverage it so much. But again, you built it on that solid foundation of education. So you just have like the perfect story, and it's just worked out so sensationally well for you. And I'm so happy it's gone so incredibly well.
How did you show us number equity release from PPOR to buy number 4 as well? So
this one started to get like a little bit more complicated. So we didn't do a refinance. We did a top up instead. So we took out 40. We did a top up loan, 40K
What's a
from
top
PPOR.
up?
You increase the existing loan, so you didn't change lenders. You kept it the same one, got the cash from that lender.
So he was at 7. He was at 65% LVR and took it up to 80% LVR. Is that similar to something around that?
Or whatever it was.
Yeah, we bumped it up more. So you can see there we've got LMI. So we had to pay LMI for both of those. So we bumped it up to, I think from memory, 88%.
Yeah.
LVR we went to.
Good.
So that was, and that LMI.
Only just last couple of months ago.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so that was just the LMI for us was just the cost of doing business. Like we weighed it up and we thought, no, this is important because, strike accordingly. We want to get in fast. And we knew then that we would have to sacrifice, a bit of LMI in order to get that.
Absolutely.
So we did the top up that gave us the pool there. And then, that basically funded the deposit and a bit of money came out. You can see there for the LMI. And we had a little bit of leftover too for PPOR renovations, which is just sitting in the redraw. We haven't touched that yet.
But you could have paid off the LMI with it. But then that's just capitalized into your loan anyway. So it's just like putting it in your offer. Which is what you Okay. So so now we've got property number 4 and we have skipped ahead a bit, but I think this is incredibly interesting. Like just going from cash deposit, so we've got our cash deposit here. We've paid our 20% deposit, let's just call it. And then we've topped up $5,000. Where do we top $5,000 here? And then that is it. That is literally it. We've gone from deposit, $5,000 to get you through here. And then you bought number 2, 3, and number 4, all off the equity of that first purchase that you did. So if you bought a house and land package that grew 2%, you wouldn't have had that. You're buying off the plan apartment, you wouldn't have had that. You buy a property that's already completely done, and if you didn't put the hard work in, you wouldn't have gotten such an amazing result. So
100%, exactly.
And it's not to say that all you're going to get this with all properties, because it's amazing kind of, it looks amazing. Like you picked the absolute location as well. So so all told, how much cash did you? So did you literally only need? I'm just trying to do the numbers. I shouldn't do math in public. I can do math in public, but am I correct in saying you only needed about, like, how much?
Well, 20% deposit, but that's in 2016. We don't want to ask him how much he paid for his deposit.
Oh, no.
But like,
the deposit, I can tell you that
in your PPOR and in your first property to be able to leverage that.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to think how much cash you would need to buy those. Yeah, go on, sorry.
No, you're right. So look, I think from memory, the deposit would have been around 60 or 70, I think, for the PPOR. And then, like, we probably spent around the same amount on the reno, getting that up to speed. And for that reason, that's where we could just, that equity just grew over those few years. And, thankfully we bought at the right time before the local market really started to boom. So it was a combination of that, like the market was just lifting up. But had we not done that first renovation, like, because we added an extra bathroom too, so which kind of pushed that property into the next kind of bracket in terms of what, what's desirable, what people are looking at. So, and then with our first investment property, our cash down was 50 grand, 55.
Yeah.
And for our second one, we put in, I think it wasn't too much at all, 15.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so that's a lot smaller.
Yeah. Not a lot of money though. That's kind of what you can almost buy one commercial property. So you've managed to build. Yeah. You're in the 1% of 1%. We've only about sort of, let's call it 150, 160,000.
Yeah, but over
couple of years.
2016, over 8 years. But in your purchase, you've just had the last 15 months and you've bought 4 so fast. So one thing I wanted to understand is a little bit around that mindset side of things, because most people don't buy, maybe you were just so green to it. You're like, oh, most people don't buy these properties so quickly. This thing worked, so why am I not going to do it? But like, there's got to be more to the mindset around that. Like, how did you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and doing this? Because you guys have done amazing.
Thank you. It's kind of funny because, like, I don't think that what we've done is effectively anything special. We didn't know that this was fast. In fact, we kind of thought, like, oh, we're not going fast enough, because when we made that decision to say, hey, let's accumulate property, we thought we need to do it as quick as we can. So for us, what was really important from the start was the mindset and attitude. And we were like, okay, what are our intentions here? What are our values here? How are we going to operate as investors? And we actually turned that into like this 1-page strategic plan document where we could say up front why we're going to be doing this, what we're going to be doing, and how we're going to be doing it. And it's really simple, just like 3 paragraphs. And it's like, boom, that gives us the framework right there. And because it was, at my head, it was written down. Thanks, Dad. I could like sort of we could visually see what the plan is. And that's the thing. We just jumped in there really quickly and we said, okay, well, this is what we need to do to get that plan underway.
Yeah,
it's absolutely wild.
Yeah, and it's interesting around the mindset, like having that clear vision. I can't understate that enough.
So what does that mean? What's a clear vision? What do you mean?
It means like treating it like a business, being really clear about saying, I guess not compromising on whatever it is that you decide. If you say, okay, I'm going to have X amount of properties, but we're going to do it in a certain way. And for us, what was really important was, renovating properties so we could. Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, not getting FOMO as well. So for us, that was really important, like having this clear vision. And I guess the alternative is that, I've had a lot of chats with people about property and, people get quite interested and they're like curious and like, oh, what does that look like? And they'll say, oh yeah, Lee, I'll just go out and buy this property. And it's like, whoa. Like,
why are you buying it?
Why are you buying it? And they're like,
what are you going to do with it as well?
What are you going to do with it? Exactly. And so, yeah, that's been really interesting. Like more often than not, I've come across people that sort of don't think in that way about the importance of having that clear vision around, okay, why are they going to do it?
So I mean, I don't want to ask what your why is, but you guys would have sat down and said, this is why we're going to do this, and this is what we're going to do. And then you guys went out and put it onto a visual sheet of paper to say, okay, every time it gets hard, we're going to look at this and we're going to be like, okay, great. Where are we at on our plan? How far have we made? No, we said we're going here. Time to put the money down. Time to push forward. Amazing.
We said we're going to go and sand that floor. Where it's 5 o'clock on a Saturday morning. I don't want to drive up to that place and get that sanding done, but I'm going to do it because is that kind of.
Yeah, 100%, exactly. Like for us, it was that thing about having those nice spaces for people, right? You know, and thinking like, okay, well, if we're investors, you know, for me, one of the coolest things is this idea that you can take control of your future and build something for your future self. But at the same time, if we can be part of this process that helps people have roofs over their heads, like how cool is that, you know? And then in a way, I sort of think, okay, if I'm contributing to that, if I'm part of that solution, then what you're doing in a way is not hard work. Sure, you have those hard days and it's mildly traumatic at times, you know, like no one,
you sit in the corner and you're like, you know, Chris, today was a tough day. I'm just gonna have a second Dr. Pepper tonight.
Just gonna have a little cry, just like a little tiny cry, not a big cry.
Therapeutic one, yeah. But that's 100%. Like if we, you know, on those days, the really tough ones, you come back to that framework, and not just the document, but you come back to like, okay, why I'm actually doing this, and thinking like, what does it mean to accumulate property? Yeah, sure, we get the money, but during the whole process, we weren't sort of sitting there going like, oh yeah, we can't wait for this money to roll in. You kind of more like, yeah, I mean, you're kind of more like, wow, I'm getting this sense of achievement every time I'm doing this, every day that I'm doing this. You know, it's
kind of like almost the obstacle somewhat is the way. It's like it's a badge of honor doing that, sanding those floors, or having 8 screws instead of 50 screws. But it's interesting to share, because I was just thinking about what you were saying there. I'll get through this because I know Joe wants to say something. But having just completed the Adelaide developments, it was sort of, there were times where it's like, why am I doing this? This is just really, it's just challenging. The finance is hard and the builders are getting delayed. You know, there's all these extra costs and these things come up. And then when we sold the property, one of them was a first home buyer. And I knew it was that because I was getting a home buyer's grant. I was just like, wow, this is actually, this thing that I built, this thing that's been hard to do, somebody's going to get to live in this really nice home. They're going to get to enjoy it, and I'm hopefully going to raise a family in it. How cool is that? Like, and I've solved their problem. Like, they didn't have a home to live in, or they didn't have a home to buy. I've delivered that product to this person, and now you get a reward for that. But it's not about the reward. It's kind of,
Yeah, I do. I totally agree with you, actually. And I think just thinking about that a little bit longer is definitely going to help people during their investing period, because you can definitely be like, yeah, well, I don't care anymore. Screw this. But no, actually, yeah, I am helping somebody. I am not just, and I've done a number of renos, and there's been situations where I'm like, I'm not paying that. I'm not going to do this extra thing. And it's not about overpaying or underpaying, but it's like, actually, maybe I should, like, is this my minimum standard? Would I be happy with this thing? No. Okay, I don't want to live with this. Cool. I'm going to spend an extra $8 and get the thing so people can live comfortably in there. And I love that, man. What I wanted to do was share the screen again and show what you've done from a visual perspective of actually what we're talking about here, of how you lay out your financial plan. You've actually created this, and can you guys see it?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I bloody love it. Mate, this is sensational. Can you talk us? Talk us through it real quick. What are we looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. Massive credit to my wife, because she is a unit on Canva, and she actually did this up. So I did the words for it, and she did the design.
I like the colors.
Yeah. So basically, for us, like the why. This is why we're doing it. This is what we come down to when we have those hard days. For us, financial freedom means living a simple life and spending time doing the things we love. So we are really grateful for our circumstances, and we wish to actually help our family out, like in retirement, for example, if we want to. So for us, that's really important. This doesn't mean having bucket loads of money. It means having choices. It means having flexibility and the ability to, reduce our work hours if we need to, which then translates to having more time.
Yeah.
So then we just thought about in terms of our strategy, what are we doing? Well, it's about accumulating property, getting some equities, boosting our super as well, and putting in something in there around a time frame, so 30 years, and then thinking about, okay, well, maybe we'll retire some of those debts for passive income as well when we get closer to that. In terms of the tactics, so how are we going to do it? Well, I've just said so you'd plot in there your actual number of properties that you want, maybe talk about high capital growth. That was the focus for us. And then sort of talk about, if we are going to have equities as well to balance it out, like what sort of focus does that have, growth or dividend? And it doesn't matter probably so much about the tactics, I'd say. Well, no, sorry, the tactics are really important, but for us, I think the why is probably the big one. That's the thing that will help you stay the course.
This is the foundation, right? This is what's going to hold and support absolutely everything. These are the walls, and then maybe the tactics are the the nails that hold everything together. But the why is the solid foundation. I always like to think of it that way. So no matter what, if the big bad wolf comes and tries to blow the place down, it's not going anywhere because it's built on a solid foundation. So here we've got 7 properties because we've got a PPOR and investment. Now, is that your kind of thing? Are you guys doing 4 investment properties and 2 inside a trust? Is that your kind of personal thing?
Yep, that's the plan we've got at the moment. And this document here, like for us, obviously I've deleted the data, but it's a working document. So, this doesn't mean it's set in stone and you have to do it like it's not set in stone. This is a living document that will change. So for us, that's our plan. We're planning to have our 5th and our 6th properties sitting in trust just to mix it up a bit. We feel that would be quite beneficial in terms of, just stuff around like,
just mix it up.
Because over time, these are going to, in terms of income, that's going to affect our PRYG as well.
Yeah.
And
planning. The trust side. The trust side of things, did you get any advice around that? Like, is this something you've got an accountant, a financial planner, or a broker? Like I know you've got like accountants and brokers, obviously, but did you get advice around this stuff? Have you paid somebody to help you through all of this?
We have a really good accountant who we've sort of spitballed some ideas around about the trust, and he was the one that set up the trust for it. We do have a financial planner, but we haven't talked about the family trust. That's been largely our own research around that. But absolutely we would. Engaging with the accountant, definitely. Like I wouldn't go ahead and do that without at least a conversation with the professional.
Yeah. And I do something very, very similar. I track my net worth and all of these assets every single month. And it's awesome to kind of see it grow.
I do it in an Excel sheet though, which is very boring. There's no pretty kind of colors and
what we'll do is we'll share this with the community. And I was thinking of a way to be able to actually share it with people. So what we'll do is if you guys aren't on our Aus Property Investing newsletter, jump on in there and we will share it as like a PDF attachment document, and you'll be able to get access to not the pictures, but this document here, and you'll be able to work and put your own numbers and stuff like that. And that'll be released. Let's get out of the matrix. That'll be released
next newsletter time
on the Sunday, the first Sunday of the month.
Isn't it? No, the second Sunday.
Well, it'll be released. It'll be released on a Sunday in the month of September, eventually.
Thanks for letting. I mean, I hope we asked Chris about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just with those documents too, like obviously people change them as much as they want. So whatever we've got in there, it's just been the journey that we've been on, and what is in that document is what is working for us. So obviously, complete permission for anyone to change that. And I just don't want anyone to think they have to use that structure or that setup. That's purely what has worked for us.
It's like you go into a gutted house and you decide how you want to renovate that house. Yeah,
exactly. And also with the just with that document too, the biggest thing for me, I think the biggest takeaway is that why. So having that conversation, like, you know, with maybe family or friends, or just, you know, just writing that down, it's actually a pretty creative process that gets you thinking about, oh, wow, this is actually why we're doing it. And it gets you sort of out of your head, out of your bubble a little bit. So that in itself is a really useful exercise. And if you can come away with 1 or 2 sentences about your why, like, you know, I guarantee that will help with someone's journey.
Mate, this is what your dad was saying, you know, 30 years ago to you as a kid.
Took me that long to realize it. Exactly.
So we're coming up on the hour and a half, and I think we could probably, if Chris gave us a couple of Dr. Peppers, we could probably go all night on that. So let's kind of get to some of the. There's so many questions that we've had in our little document that we haven't asked Chris, but I think that what we've talked about has been absolutely amazing. I've loved it. So let's kind of maybe do a 5 or 10 minute Q&A, quick Q&A. And while we're getting the first Q&A, Joe, do you have any burning questions you have?
Yeah. So what are some of the tips for like first-time renovators that you have there? Like, what are some of the top tips that people can go out there? I know, you know, you're a big proponent of Nike, just do it. And I reckon that's going to be one of them. But what are some of the other top tips people can do besides getting out there and just sticking to it?
I think YouTube is absolutely amazing. Like, just the way that you can jump on there and have a video and then just start to pick up different tips and tricks around that. I use YouTube all the time. And even just down to the nitty gritty around like the way to use a paint roller. You know, no one at Bunnings will sort of show you that. So there's actually a technique in terms of the pressure that you apply, and you get this sort of certain amount of paint that comes out of the roller. And I actually had a tradie that taught me that as well. Like stuff like that. I'm like, wow, you know, you'll get that off YouTube. So feel free to fill up your mind with as many like online resources that you can find as well. Because if you've got a video and someone's doing it, like, you know, there's just so much information you're getting. It's not a book; it's you're visually seeing it. What else in terms of renovation? I'd probably say think about the process of what you're going to do, and if you don't know the process, then it's totally okay to just engage a tradie and have a bit of a chat to them about that. You know, maybe you might want to get a bit of a quote. Maybe they might be able to help you with a bit of that too, possibly.
Yeah, and one actually, that's a really good point. One of the big things to do with tradies as well is like they're all tough. They're men, and women, and they're like you don't want to feel like you don't know anything. My advice is go out there and just be like, man, I know nothing. You're the expert. Please tell me, because I have no idea. And they love it. They will give you all of their little tips and tricks, and you just learn from them because nobody ever asked them. And one of them, like the way I think about renovations and projects and things is like, if you're doing a renovation, do the reverse of like what you think the house is getting built at. So what do they do first? They lay the slab. So, okay, let's address any issues with the slabs. Then they do the frame. Okay, let's address any issues with the frame. And then they do the wiring. So is there any electrical issues? And then they do the walls go on, and then the roof goes on, blah, 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 blah. Well, the roof goes on before the plaster does. And then it's like, okay, great. And then the doorknobs, then the paint, and then the flooring right at the end. And it kind of reverse engineer it. But I love I've got a big book. I've got it here actually, which is just this was my YouTube. Fix It Yourself, it's called. It's one of these massive chunks, and it's just got, wherever you open it, it's like, okay, this is how you paint this is how you drill in a frame for a thing. That was my YouTube. I took that with me, and then you'd open it up. Oh man, I need to install this aluminium frame. Oh, there it is there. All right, that's done.
Let's get to some audience questions, guys, because otherwise Joe's going to be because so for any questions, I love that book, Joe, but just mindful.
Thank you.
So Denise did have she had a question that says, "What's your why?" I think if Chris wanted to talk about it, he would have. So I think we'll throw past that question unless you want to. Feel free to interrupt.
It sounds like it was around like looking after your parents, right? Looking after people that.
I couldn't see the question. Sorry.
So go to private chat and then hit comments.
Yeah, no, it's just here.
Oh yeah. Oh hey Denise.
Yeah. So it's all. Yeah, I mean, so I thought this would have come up if you wanted to share it, so that's why I just went over it. But if you want to answer it, I'll let you answer it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, my computer's a bit slow, and I'm just trying to bring up the actual document with the data in it. But I can certainly talk to that.
Oh, that was your why. Yeah, so that's your why. The why on the document, which was financial freedom for us means living a simple life, spending more time doing the things we love. We're grateful for the circumstances, and we want to support our family. 2 sentences that lay out your why.
Yep,
so
exactly. And it's interesting. We didn't talk about like our why is that we're going to buy the properties. That comes later on. That's the what and the how.
Now, did you use now one of the questions in here is around buyer's agents. Now, for sourcing these properties, did you use a buyer's agent at all?
No, we didn't. One of the, I guess, benefits that we had was that through my wonderful wife, she had a lot of local knowledge, and we didn't use a buyer's agent. If we were to do the same process interstate, I think we absolutely would. Because there was just having local knowledge, I feel, is so crucial and so important. So if we were to do this again, we would.
I reckon you could. I definitely respect the answer, and I respect buyer's agents. I have used them in the past. I would say that yes, you can. If you have the time and the inclination to do it, you can really get to know the local market in 3 to 6 months, and it's having conversations with. Exactly as you did. You went to the area, you started sort of sniffing around and learning about the area. Like, it might be a bit hard if you're flying to Perth every second week. That might be a bit tough. But, I mean, it is possible to learn a lot of stuff and just drive around asking agents, what are the good streets? Where would you avoid buying? These kind of things. You can pick up heaps, but yeah.
Absolutely. Just on that too, real estate agents. We talk to a heap of real estate agents. We'll just get on the phone and ask them, and, they know that you're buyers. So they're generally pretty happy to share, a fair bit of information, and also relationships. I'd say that was crucial for us. Once we started to build relationships with real estate agents and tradies and just people that were local, you become much more friendly, and people are just willing to step out of their zone and help you more. So that was probably really important in our success too.
And kind of almost enlisting them in your journey, saying, "Look, we want to buy a property and make it look pretty. Like, this is," and sort of saying, "I'd love to be able to buy a property off you to help." And sort of, could you help me out on that journey? And then they're like, "Oh, actually, I'm cheering for Chris. I want him to win." So then, if you tell them exactly, and you combine Scotty Aggott's like BCC, send it to them and say, "Oh, have you found any properties for me to renovate and turn into a beautiful?" Yeah, no, sort of it becomes an emotional journey. Even though the real estate agent is not your friend, you can kind of get them to get excited about helping you to help. Yeah, you can help them to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. A little tip that I learned around semantics. So when we first started, I had a friend who I found out was actually into property and shares, and he's become this amazing mentor for us. So he was like this real cool sounding board, and he has this strategy. He talks about, don't think of it like a transaction. Think about a partnership. I'm going to contact this real estate agent and be like, "Hey, are you keen on partnering with us?" If you sort of up the ante around that language you use, it can sort of build a more respectful conversation.
Yeah. So in acquiring some of these properties, did you get any, did you get first preferences? Did you get off-market opportunities? Were real estate agents throwing property at you? How did that how did those relationships go?
We had a really crazy story buying our second investment property, and it was just like, I'm happy to share it now, but I'm just mindful of everyone's time. Maybe we can do it a second time. But because of how crazy that story was and the relationship we built with that real estate agent, we were basically like first dibs for our third property, who we bought from the same agent.
Yeah, share the story, mate. I don't look. I'm happy to stay. I'll go for 3 hours. I don't care. I'm sitting back here.
I'll try and do this pretty quick, but it's a pretty crazy story. So basically, it was a bit of an accidental purchase. Like, we were looking for a property at the time, okay, but I had all these checklists right? I had all these things to looking for, and I was doing my head in. I was getting a little worried, and I said to my wife, "Oh, we're not going to find anything, you know." And she finds this property online, but there was no address listed for it. And so she goes, "Look, I'm pretty sure I know where that is." She is amazing when it comes to maps and spatial recognition. So she jumped on Google Earth and she's found the address, and she's like, "Chris, this is one of the best streets in this whole area." So I made some phone calls, right? I dropped emails, and then like no one was getting back in touch, and I was getting really annoyed. So anyway, we drive up to that area, right? 300 kilometers just to check it out. And we stopped for lunch. We actually had an inspection there for another property anyway. Anyway, we finished the inspection and it was a dud. We didn't like it. And we just thought, okay, we're about to head home. And we're like, you know what? What the hell? We'll just drive up to this house. We'll just drive up there.
YOLO.
You know, free country. So we pull up outside this house, right? There's no sign out the front because it's not advertised online. It's not listed, you know, there's no address listed. So anyway, we're sitting in the car and I'm starting to feel a bit creepy. And this guy in a suit pops his head out the door. He looks around, he goes back in, and we're like, okay, interesting. And then a few minutes later, he comes back out and he goes, "Are you here for the property?" And I was like, "Oh, look, no, we don't have an appointment." Like, we tried calling and emailing, but no one got back in touch. And he got all apologetic. He's like, "Oh, sorry, our phone's been playing up." He's like, "Come back at 2 p.m. and I'll let you in." So we're like, okay, cool. We go away and we come back and we're basically in this property for about 5 minutes. And we're like, this is amazing. This was a 1980s single level on a slab. It was preserved from the day it was built. There was not a speck of dust anywhere. Had this incredible garden, didn't have a blade of grass out of place. And I was just blown away by how well this guy had looked after his house. You know, he was such a humble and a nice guy. He was going into a nursing home. And I just had this really strong feeling. I was like, we need to buy this house. And so we went back to the office, we put our offer in, and we didn't think we had a chance at all, you know, because there were other offers literally there at the office. And anyway, the agent called about 5 o'clock and he said, we got the house. And we couldn't believe it. And he was blowing out too. He was like, my gosh, this has never happened before. You guys literally just walked in off the street.
So hang on, let's dig into that, right? So there were other offers, and what, yours was the lower offer?
Not sure. Didn't get that feedback.
So was there a price guide that the agent was like, no, you like be around 450 random price, or he just said, what do you reckon it'll go for? And then you said, this, I'll give you this.
Well, we've been looking at some figures around data at the time, and we've been tracking our spreadsheet, and it was basically just what's that, sorry?
You knew to the cent what you wanted to pay for this property. It was like $322,528.33.
Yep, exactly. Well, it was actually, my wife did a great job. She came up with the figure that we ended up paying for, and she was very clear. She said, no, this is the figure we're going to put on. And the real estate agent was like, are you sure? Did you hear the last conversation in the office? Because the couple putting an offer in, we're in the room and they were talking loudly. And we were like, no, we're going to stick with this. And yeah, just secured the property.
You get a relationship with the vendor, like the person that owns the property? Did you see him and say hello to him, or was it just the real estate agent that you saw? Like, do you think
did that have an impact? I'm not sure. Maybe.
I think it did.
I mean, he was this amazing older man. He was just there. He was so nice, so humble. It was so clear that he held so much pride in this house. And that's the feeling that I got when I came away. Like, it was crazy. I was like, oh, was that 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom? Like, I couldn't even remember. Like, I wasn't paying that much attention, but I was like, we need to take this house and we need to make it fresh again so that someone else will appreciate it. And so, look, there was this really strong intention there about saying, yeah, this is what we need to do. And yeah, it absolutely could have had maybe the guy noticed or picked up. I don't really know, but it worked out really well.
These guys that people wanted to sell it to, and even if you were off 100K under people, maybe that might have been a bit of difference. But yeah, that's an amazing story. Thanks for sharing that.
That's okay. I mean, I guess around that too is just like, you've got the data that we've got data that we look at, but at some point too, there's still decision making. And that's, like some point you've got to go, I'm going to execute, I'm going to make a call. You know,
otherwise it's sort of you're playing a video game. You never dip your toe in the water or dive in or whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're sitting on the. Awesome. There's a couple of questions. I think we'll do this as there's the last three. Some of them I think we've kind of answered, but Ramesh asks, did you have all four under IPs under personal name? I think the answer is yes. It looks like.
Yes. So two in each name.
Yep.
That's how we did that. Yep.
Yeah, we
did some research around that.
Yeah, kind of more powerful question is probably why, but we could probably talk for 10 minutes on that. So. Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, was there very intentional about doing two each, or was that just kind of made sense?
It just sort of made sense with our income, but also like we had learnt very early on about the dangers of. I was listening to a podcast with an accountant, Mundarul Khan, talking about
great
ownership, and I was just like, whoa, this blew my mind about this ownership stuff. So once I heard that, I was hooked, and I was like, yes, I understand. And then, of course, we've been having chats with our accountant along the way saying, hey, we're looking at this property. This is what we're thinking of doing. What do you reckon about ownership? And he'd be like, yep, that sounds great. Do it that way.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. And the next one is where I think this was Joel, and we won't get too specific with the suburbs here, but where are investment properties 2, 3, and 4? They're in Tasmania somewhere.
Oh no, I think he was asking like what happened to the story of them because we kind of glossed over them a little bit.
Yeah.
We kind of just dived into the data of it, but I think I feel like it's got very much the same. You bought, renovated, added value, and you now have equity. I'm more interested in what's next. Like what is next for you?
Right.
Well, properties 3 and 4, we haven't renovated. We haven't done anything to those yet, but there is definitely potential. So that was, again, still part of our strategy or, around our tactics. Like this is the stuff that we sort of, the metrics, the parameters that we've got, like established houses, ones that we can add value to. So we'll be doing that later on. For us from here, we're sort of taking a bit of a break at the moment just to see what's sort of going to happen in the next few months. Then probably later on, we want to jump back in and looking at getting properties 5 and potentially maybe 6. But one thing we've noticed is that particularly in the local markets we're in, things are like timeframes are blowing out a lot with lenders. Things are just slowing down, and it's hard. Like it's in terms of stock and everything, it's just maybe not where it was a year ago.
Yeah,
I'm sure that doesn't change anything because it's a 25 to 30 year journey for us.
Very good point.
Sorry, Jeff, I cut you off.
No, that's all right. No. I think the last one we did talk about it, financing structure for your IP. Did you investment property? Did you come up with this yourself or someone advised with regards to refinance and buying others? I think we did sort of talk about it. It sounds like you had a broker after you did number 1 from the sounds of it.
Yes, yeah. So what was the question, sorry?
It was,
if I can pull up the comments.
Yeah, I've got it here. I'll bring it up on the screen.
Oh, nice, cool.
And this was Manan Chadra. Sorry,
financing structure for IP. Cool. Our broker largely did that, and our broker largely advised around the financing structure there. Yeah, and because it started to get a little bit complicated. Having said that, what would I do differently? I would want to know the structure inside and out. I didn't take enough time and due diligence to understand that as we went along. And the further we went along, like the more complicated it gets, right? So get on top of that early, write down the dates when things settle and how much equity comes out. So that diagram I showed you around how it's all constructed, we had to reverse engineer that based on our loan offers and a few different things because we sort of left it too long. So I'd advise someone, jump on that early and chat to your broker if you're using one and say, let's sit down and map out exactly, just draw a diagram on paper.
This is what I'm trying to do. Here is my plan. How can you help me get there?
Yeah.
And what do I actually need? What steps? What are the practical steps? Because I think that's what we're talking about, Chris. It kind of sounds like you had the high level, but then you were sort of, there were things that didn't quite come. You had to do sort of last minute. Is that what sort of the way it played out a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. And if say, for example, like, you know, you got to a certain point where we're getting close to finance clause being due, and if something has to change quickly at the last minute, like, you're just under that pressure. So therefore, having, you know, if you know what the parameters are, if you have that conversation around, okay, well, I can see we're going to do it this way. Tell me about the other ways we can construct it. How else can we do it? Can we pull equity out of somewhere else? What are the risks? You know, and it's maybe a half-hour conversation with the broker, but if they're willing to put that time in, I'd highly recommend that for anyone, because then you just come away better informed.
Yeah, 100%.
Do we want to answer one last kind of question, and then we'll
do it, mate.
As you want to.
I'm super happy to keep going. We'll do a second session if you guys want. And
let's
anyone's keen,
But I love Edgar's comments. He's always very vocal in the comments. I'm loving it. But this is one that I think I've got to miss this, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are you worried about the possibility of rates rising to 5 to 7%? What are your thoughts on that one? That's from Natalie Haynes, a big supporter of the show. Thanks, Natalie.
Yeah, nice one. I think absolutely it could happen. I think it will happen at some point. we're not personally worried though in terms of our portfolio for our circumstances. And the reason being is because we purchased at a certain amount, a certain price point, that we know we're not like over leveraged, that we know that with our joint incomes, we can still service those loans if we need to, you know. Black swan event, we know that hopefully we'll still have tenants in there. We can just absorb that. So if those rates rise, we'll just absorb that through other means. And we've done some, you know, just with our spreadsheets, just doing some simple modeling around, okay, let's plug in interest rates at 5%, you know, like what are they called?
What if scenario?
Rate, I think it is. Yeah, what if scenario. And then you plug that in, you go, okay, well, how much do I have left over in the kitty each fortnight? And then you just like, you can act as if. So if we were, say, let's say we'd maxed out or we'd bought way above our budget. So in terms of our budget, when we purchased these, we were always under. We were way under what our actual budget was at the time. A fair bit under. And that was pretty strategic because it just meant we had more room to move, you know, more breathing space. So had it been different, then, you know, absolutely, I'd be thinking, oh gosh, you know, 5% rates start to worry me.
Yeah. And are you at you're looking at growth rate. You're factoring in trying to go after growth, and you've also leveraged the equity from your other positions. So like, are you running quite negatively geared on this? Are you close to neutral? Are you positively geared? Like, where is the portfolio sitting at the moment? If you don't mind chatting.
No, absolutely. So we're sitting at, our LVR is sitting at about 84%. So global LVR is 84%. In terms of cash flow, I think our rental income is about 80 grand a year, and our expenses are around 75.
Nice. Oh, so it's positively geared.
Yeah, we're positively geared 5 grand.
Flow probably, I think is it.
Yeah, positive.
Positive cash flow. And that also includes our PPLR mortgage too. So,
and is that principal interest, or is that interest you're only factoring the? Oh, that's all costs.
That's all costs, yeah, and they're all principal and interest variable.
Yeah.
Why would I assume that it wouldn't have been the best outcome like with you? I'm like, yeah, surely it's interest only. You know, it's all tied up, but in a couple of years it's going to completely change. No, principal and interest variable rate. I'm absolutely fine. Don't you worry.
Largely though, that's still due to the first property. Like, you know what I mean? The fact that we worked so hard because the rent, I mean, through that renovation, we increased our rent by 56%.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That makes sense. Just by doing a big reno in a property that's in a premium location with water views. Like, you know, it just, and people are really willing to pay that. Like our tenants at the moment, have pretty difficult day jobs in terms of like working for ambulance services. So they see some stuff and they're like, we love living here because we are so close to the beach. And for us, that's our mental break. We get to walk down to the beach, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so my point being, increases your cash flow, of course.
Yeah. So getting back to Natalie's original question, my kind of yardstick is if the bank is willing to lend me money, the bank will automatically sensitize your rates at 5 to 7%. So if they're lending you money, if rates were to go up, you're as long as your situation doesn't change, then the bank says that, and the bank is an extremely conservative behemoth. They're not out there to take risks. The bank's not out there to lose money. So there's automatically some kind of bumpers in there, and that's not to say that. And look, if you're going to 15, if you're going to 10 banks that are all saying no, maybe that's kind of a sign that even if there is a lender out there that will do it, you just have to be very cautious, because if rates were to go up, you're kind of running. There's a red light there. There's a warning light saying warning. So if banks are saying no, that's probably a sign that there's something in your situation. It's not to say that you can't do it, but just be careful, people, because otherwise, who knows when rates will go up? They probably will. I don't have a crystal ball. It's in the shop. It's broken. But I think we'll kind of finish up on. I love Joe's last question that he asks everybody at the end.
We say we are every time you say, like, Joe, ask this last question.
Well,
and I'm always like, no, I don't feel like asking this question.
Yeah, well, you don't feel like asking it. Okay.
But what, no, okay. What if, is there anything that we haven't covered off, right? Is there anything that you would love to talk about that you're like, oh, guys, you missed this bit. Tell us about it. I want to talk about it.
No, look, honestly, I think we've covered everything. And I think there's plenty of room to do another session if the audience is keen. If you guys are interested, I'm more than happy to do that. If there's anything else we want to sort of duck into, I'm happy to drop some in the comments. Maybe I can just drop some extra things that we could talk about and see if people are sort of interested in that at all. Maybe that's a good way to.
He was keen for a second session. Pop it in the comments.
Yeah.
Say, Chris.
and I'll probably, and not just me, but my wife as well for the second
Chris.
one.
Yeah,
Mrs. Chris. Man, I just want to acknowledge the just what you have done so incredibly well. Like, you have done property just like the best I've ever seen, just from start to finish. You've followed the correct trajectory. You saw poor opportunities, but you got educated on them, and you saw that house and land, there was this big shiny thing, and then you saw, okay, well, I need to add value. I need to actually put the hard work in, and you were able to do that. And then you've just done the right thing. So I appreciate you coming on here and sharing with everyone, because you've shared so much stuff about you guys and some amazing tools that we'll share with the rest of the community, and I appreciate that as well. But you absolutely crushed it, man. I love this one. This is great.
Thank you so much, Joe. I really appreciate that.
This is one of my favorite sessions, and I think I enjoy. Like, don't get me wrong, I love hearing somebody who is buying properties as a professional day in, day out. But I think these are the nuts and bolts. And so if somebody has a really cool story they want to share, let us know, and we can have a chat, because otherwise we'll just have a buyer date every second week or every third week or whatever. Which, I don't know, like, which is good. Everybody has that, and we'll get some value out of them. But I love hearing the kind of the whys and the Dr. Pepper stories, and Chris loves kind of doing wacky. The other Chris, the Chris Dusting, loves doing wacky posts as well. So thank you for taking the time. Thank you for all your comments and just your generosity and positivity, because it's with us helping us with this community. Like, people like yourself make this what we're doing, what Joe and I and Nick are doing here, worthwhile. Because without people like you, it does get hard sometimes. But hearing your kind of positivity and your feedback, it's just amazing. So thank you for being the person that you are, and your wife as well. I'm sure she's sort of at you as well. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. And just to you guys and everything that you've done, and the whole community, like, there's no way we would be here on this journey without the community. It's as simple as that, you know? And sometimes as well, like, we just have these things that make us slow down. In my case, it was a busted ankle that made me slow down and pay attention. But, you know, that's the thing, like, just be curious to the signs around you and do the research. And, like, I think I'm just a normal dude. So if I can do it, honestly, like, anyone can.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the best. That's the best part about this story is that you just went out there and just did it. You are just a normal guy. You're on a normal salary, on a normal wage. You just put the hard yards in and got it done. And it wasn't even that hard.
Who has an amazing support kind of network, and you're a support network for your wife as well. Like, so you support each other. It's kind of about a partnership, as I said, with a real estate agent. It's about you're partnering with somebody. You're not sort of,
absolutely, 100%. Yeah, and that's a whole nother thing to unpack is thinking about your dynamics and like as a couple or a family that want to do investing. Like, how do you do that? How do you have conversations about money? How do you manage all those things? So that's a whole nother topic that we can, of course, unpack and explore.
Awesome.
Love it.
Awesome. Cool, guys. Okay, well, let's end on that.
So much, guys.
Thank you, Chris. Let's go buy a property, guys. I'll see you later.
That's good.
You can stick on it, Chris. I know I've said that.